Today's guest is Scott Jenkins. He's the CEO and co-founder of ZS2 Technologies. All right, Scott, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tats. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. It's really nice to have a guest on the west coast of Canada. I'm in Vancouver, as we talked earlier, and then you're based Alberta, but you do go back and forth to BC.
Yeah, lots of exciting things going on in BC, and then lots of time spent in the United States with our partners down there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess being from Alberta, early in your career, you're in and around oil field stuff, and then you sort of gradually moved towards, I guess, more construction related, I guess, technology related stuff.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm a little unique being based and having started my career in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, in that I didn't spend a lot of my early career with oil and gas or the energy industry, which is major industry here. I really gravitated to construction engineering technology companies. First with a company called Pure Technologies, and then a company called Dirt Environmental Solutions, and now ZS2 as one of the co-founders.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you, I mean, I know Vancouver's always had a bit of a tech side to it. How is it sort of associating and building and stuff in and around tech in Alberta?
Yeah, I think actually, interestingly, I think Alberta and Calgary in particular is really becoming a technology hotspot. Now, I think that's a bit of a spillover from Vancouver. We even, in our early days at our company, a lot of support from Vancouver. One of our co-founders based in Vancouver. But here in Alberta, there's such an entrepreneurial spirit. A lot of support from investors, probably successful business people from maybe the energy industry, agriculture, tourism, other things that are big industries for Alberta. And then just easy access and partnerships in the United States. And obviously that's our background with our predecessor companies where we had large U.S. operations. And so a lot of partners from my past are now a big part of our future in ZS2. So Alberta's been a great place to build a business in the construction technology space, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking on your bio, I mean, with I guess with Dirt Environmental Solutions, helping to grow the company from annual sales of 6 million to 300 million in your current venture. I mean, those are not small numbers. Walk me through that.
Dirt was an interesting background, and so folks listening to the podcast, and as I listened to some of the podcasts over the last year, Dirt was really focused on offsite construction technologies, so prefab for the office environment, and then we moved into healthcare, and that's really where I got introduced to magnesium cement technologies, which we'll be talking about in a bit, I'm sure. But the founder of Dirt, a gentleman by the name of Mogan Smed, sort of an iconic Alberta businessman, I learned a lot on the sales, marketing, business development, importance of partnerships, relationships. But we made a very good strategic decision in 2009 when we opened our second facility in Savannah, Georgia, and then our third facility in Phoenix, Arizona. And so distributed manufacturing was sort of new, even for Mogan's and I, and when I became the president of the company. But that ended up being just such a great strategic choice. Now, I know Dirt shut down some of those facilities now, subsequent to us leaving the company many years ago. But that was really important to the growth of the company back then. And so learned a lot. And now we get to kind of take those good lessons learned and probably some not so good lessons learned and deploy them here at ZS2.
Yeah, I mean, with entrepreneurship, it's always a learning experience. So you get the good with the bad.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tell our team, I said, look, our goal is to make the best decision we think at the time. Go fast, but most importantly, if we make a mistake, learn from that fast, right? The old adage, fail fast, so that and you can change course. And there's definitely been a lot of things we've learned here at ZS2 as we bring really new material science to the construction industry. And as you know, with your background, it's an industry that's sometimes maybe a little resistant to change.
Yeah, we can talk about that sort of change in management. But what's striking about your background is you spent a lot of time working in and around public, they traded companies and stuff like that. I mean, my experience is on the private side. Walk me through some of the differences, or why you spend so much time in and around those.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point, actually. So, Pure Technologies, which was really the founders of Pure, Jamie and Peter Paulson, still mentors of mine to this day, big supporters of ZS2. So that was public. Then Dirt was private, but we took it public, and I led the IPO in 2013. I'm also the founder of another public company called Decisive Dividend from back in the day. It's very successful, that company and that team. I'm so proud of what they're doing. Being in the public environment means you're really under a microscope, day to day, if not hour to hour, if not minute to minute. That can be a challenge in terms of making decisions for the long term in a company, what's best for the company, making strategic investments. And so that really was always the balancing act is, short-term results, people short-term, their short-term expectations, but you really want to think about long-term for the future. So I think at Dirt, as an example, we did a good job in the early days. There were challenges at times conveying our long-term strategy and vision and executing those milestones. ZS2, we're a private company. We built the company to be public company ready, but that's probably not the path. For right now, it's beneficial for us to stay private because of our strategic partners are so supportive in terms of what we're doing and some new potential strategic partnerships we're working on. But I do think the benefit of being private is you can really make more longer term decisions without that scrutiny. So that's
Yeah,
helpful.
for sure. So you're talking about magnesium and the venture that you're currently in, and you said you were introduced to that through the prior venture. Walk me through why you decided to take on this technology and what you're trying to do to grow it.
Well, it's interesting. Where it really, and I've told this story to a few folks, that the genesis of what we're doing here at ZS2 is really the world is changing. Here in Canada, wildfire season is pretty much year round now. In the United States, speaking to some of my partners in New York earlier today, and they've been affected by wildfire smoke from the terrible fires in Manitoba, worst fires on record. So we need more climate resilient materials. So magnesium cement and magnesium cement products are highly, highly fire resistant. High strength, lower weight than Portland cement products, but they have some challenges, and those challenges are supply of raw materials. Largely, Southeast Asia has the raw materials, so the products are being manufactured there. And then they're heavy products to ship. Complex chemistry. And then magnesium and magnesium oxide is used in some higher value industrial processes like refractory, so high temperature industrial processes, water treatment plants, heavy elements like dioxide. So it's, and I mentioned the chemistry or even pharmaceuticals. If you take a multivitamin, you take magnesium. So the start of ZS2 was really predicated on, and my co-founder, Kristen Davis, she really gets a lot of the credit for this, is saying, wait a sec, we have some strategic relationships. We have some chemists that we've worked with in our past. What if we came together and really tried to solve that geographic challenge and supply chain challenge here in North America for products the world needs, owing to their fire resistance, owing to their lightweight, owing to their cost? And that was sort of the genesis of ZS2 6 years ago. What happened was really, as we started the company and saw the benefit is, though, we had some strategic partnerships. Canada's only supplier of magnesium oxide, our partners and huge supporters, Baymag and their parent company, Referent Technique. And that helped launch us and accelerate things. So now where we're at is we're starting to manufacture the world's first ever North American family of magnesium products. And I think that's what has so many people interested in what we're doing right now.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, I looked at your page. I love that senior leadership, change makers. So when you're thinking about, putting together the right team for this, you're working with people that you worked with in the past. I mean, how do you do that? I know so much of a company is just about the people that you have. How did you go about that process, putting together this team?
Okay, so this probably isn't going to be the answer you expect, or maybe some of the listeners will expect. We came together and there was a core group. Chris and I both members of the senior leadership team at Dirt. Our third co-founder, Dr. Doug Brown, came from the carbon capture industry from Carbon Engineering, one of the world's largest direct air carbon captures. Our head of R&D, Danny, actually came from the oil and gas industry, PhD engineer and chemist. So there's been a lot of folks from our past, even supporters and some of our investors in Pure Technologies, in Dirt, in Decisive, in other industries. So, right. But we started the business and then the world changed, and that was with the worldwide pandemic and COVID. And so what happened a little bit is we had access to some incredible people that we used to work with in the past who are maybe now sitting at home all day, or maybe had been laid off, or maybe were rethinking, the purpose in their careers, and did they want to maybe spend time on something that could change the world? And we truly believe that. So there was this interesting ability for us to build a team, albeit over Zoom calls, Microsoft Team calls, Google Meets, Cisco Connect. I've used them all. I'm sure you have too. And that was really what put the core team together. So yeah, folks that we've been so lucky to work with in the past, and everything's about team here at ZS2, and it's not superlative. It's not, just to say it. It's truly that everybody believes and is passionate about the vision and the ability to positively affect the construction industry.
Yeah, for sure. As a founder or entrepreneur, I mean, entrepreneurship has this amazing ability to, find our strengths, but also to find our weaknesses. Over the years, what did you have to work on to become the entrepreneur, the business professional you are now?
So that is a long list, a very long list. And there's probably more things that, if you ask Kristen or members of my board or our investors and strategic partners, maybe it's even longer than I know. So maybe that's the first thing, is have a sense of humor, have some humility, realize you don't know everything. One thing for me, for sure, I like to talk. I get super excited about what we're doing. So I have to be careful to try to listen more, speak less. And one thing I definitely have thought a lot about over my career and changes and tried to employ here at ZS2 is as a CEO and co-founder, I really don't think that, some of my team may say, hey, you're the CEO, you're the boss. No, absolutely the reverse. My job is to support all of them, the team members. So it's that bottom up approach. And I can't, it sounds kind of kitschy, but it's so true. And I've learned it's all about the team. Like, how do I make their days more efficient, better, bring value to them, get them excited to come to work every day, get them excited about their accomplishments, get them to not worry about some of the challenges or things that don't go well. So my job is chief coach, cheerleader, supporter, make sure, one side of the business knows what the other side's doing, communicator. That's probably what I've learned. And, but I've been so fortunate. I've had some amazing mentors. I mentioned Mogan Smed, Jamie Paulson, Peter Paulson, just some amazing people over the years.
Yeah, for sure. People listening and thinking, okay, well, maybe I want a mentor too. What sort of tips do you have for people that are looking for mentors?
So a couple of things actually, and actually that's a question I hadn't really expected. So one thing I would say, just really off the top of my head, if you can find a group of like-minded people who are more of a cohort, like they're in the same position as you, there's a lot of formal organizations that do that, but you can do that. You could do that informally, and maybe once a quarter, whether it's lunch, meet for a drink, meet for a cup of coffee. Find folks that are experiencing similar challenges, and they don't have to be in the same industry, right? So one thing I've seen, I've been lucky to participate in and be part of some great groups of other, leaders, men and women. And now my leadership team here at ZS2 are also participating. I'm really encouraging them to get involved in some groups. Is the challenges sometimes are the same. Whether it's people challenges, people opportunities, culture, access to capital, growth, projects that may not go as planned. That happens, unfortunately too much. So yeah, so find like-minded individuals. And then I think naturally, if you are passionate about what you're doing, mentors will gravitate towards you as well. like that. And I'm sure, Tats, you've had mentors in your career, and obviously even with the podcast, which is getting more and more successful. Your people are listening to you and the guests you bring on as another tool, right, to learn. So, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, one way to learn is start a podcast, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Start a podcast, and congrats. Like it's all. This is year 3. There's been hundreds of them. Like that's a lot of effort.
Yeah, well, I try to stick with, what am I interested in? I think sometimes, you can try too hard to put yourself in a box. And always try to think, well, if I wasn't recording this, I wasn't sharing this, would I still take this meeting? Would I still be interested enough to take the call and ask the question? So I've tried my best to stick to that. So the
That's a great
longevity is just
mantra.
fast to try to stay with the interest.
Yeah, that's a great mantra. Like, would you and I be having a conversation regardless of podcast? And my hope is yes. I think it is yes for both of us. So that's a great mantra.
Absolutely, for sure. So yeah, you talked about groups. That's great. I love that. I mean, what sort of let's say in your sort of career as a executive leader and entrepreneur, what's a story you commonly find yourself telling me? Remember when this happened? Like, what's a fun story? Something that you're willing or able to share? Something that maybe that's something you learned or something very memorable with, like, hey, I've reached the next level, or this was very interesting.
There's probably a few, and some of them are scary. Like I do tell a story sometimes early at one of our predecessor companies about challenges, and we were close to not making payroll one pay period. Our business model was to receive customer deposits. We had 2 large contracts. We made the mistake of starting the contracts early without the deposits in. We were ramping up, and then all of a sudden, payment issues from clients like that. And so it was one of the most stressful times, for sure, of my career. Um, and just the leadership team around me at that time, they're like, "No, we'll figure this out. Like, we will figure this out. Like, keep going forward." I'll give you an example. Also, I had a meeting once with a gentleman. His name's Lou McEachran, and Lou passed away earlier this year. He's 91. Huge supporter of mine. His son is a huge friend, and Lou and I have known each other for a long time. Very successful entrepreneur in Western Canada, multiple companies, done well. And he had this expression, and I'm not going to use the expletive, but he's like, don't let and everybody he ever met, including former premiers, like who spoke at his funeral services in both Prince Edward Island, were like, don't let the bleeps grind you down, i.e. keep fighting. It's not easy. It's always going to be uphill. There's always going to be someone who's going to try to, kick you down. So, for if anybody's listening, or for folks who are being an entrepreneur, in a weird way, that the terms become kind of like, hey, that's cool. It's not cool.
Oh,
Like,
oh,
this, if I was ever in front of a class at university, like an entrepreneurship class, something, I would ask people like, are you excited about this and this and this? Stop. It sucks. Don't do it. And then I explained, maybe I would explain some things like, I have this recurring dream or nightmare about this. I go like, don't go down this path. You're crazy.
yeah.
But if you do, and you're successful, it's probably the most rewarding experience you'll ever have.
Sure. I mean, I truly believe that, a very small percentage of the population would be truly happy pursuing an entrepreneurial path when it all came down to it. But if you knew ahead of time and stuff, I don't know what the number is. I've heard, 7%, although, in the media and kind of commonly, like it's very cool right now. But I
Yeah.
remember when I first started the first company, almost 3 decades ago, it was like, "Oh, you can't get a job," kinda reaction, right? Do you remember that?
It's true. It's like you go to work for yourself because no one wants to hire you.
Yeah,
You're actually an outcast.
yeah,
That's why you became an entrepreneur. You're unemployable. I couldn't agree more. But the media has somehow sensationalized it. It's a good thing. It's not. It's not for everybody. And um, I give Kristen Davis, our co-founder and COO. She was the one who literally, just ahead of COVID in 2020, said, look, like, we've thought about this, we've talked about it for a long time. We thought, like, if there's ever a time to do it, now's the time to do it. So I give her all the credit in the world for kind of lighting a fire under my, to get going.
Yeah, for sure. What if you were to just, broadly guess, what type of person would thrive in an entrepreneurial environment, and what type of person should maybe stick to 9 to 5? What are the characteristics on either side you think are kind of dead giveaways?
That's a good question. It's all my personality. I think it's hard to talk about yourself sometimes. My wife Sarah, a huge supporter of absolutely everything we've done. She always says, my husband is not a glass half full guy. He's a glass over full of guy. He thinks the best of everybody until someday maybe they cause harm. That's to my detriment. I like to see the best in everybody. I don't take myself that seriously. I think I'm tremendously funny. My 2 children do not, but I still use the same jokes over and over again. I think you have to have a sense. So in all seriousness, you have to have an extreme sense of optimism, because the negative events and challenges, which are outside of your control, are just going to happen. So how do you weather those storms? And there's going to be many of them. So maybe that would be characteristic number 1. Number 2 would be, I think another great would be relationships. One thing that I've benefited from tremendously, and this will tie back to Dirt or even Mogan Smith as a new company, Falkveld, and all the great stuff they're doing. They're doing amazing right now. Is I have a lot of relationships throughout North America in the prefabricated construction industry. Now, largely on interiors, but many of those people are very supportive, and in a couple cases are actually partners of ZS2. So we were able to accelerate the development and secure projects in New Mexico with our partner Improve Group, California with Advanced Building Technologies, Paragon, Washington State, and Alaska, because of relationships we previously had. And so relationships, never underestimate the power of a strong relationship.
Yeah, no, very good. I love it. Is there anything that I have not asked you, but you wanted to share with anything that you're doing?
Well, we touched on it a little bit, which is, what are we doing here at ZS2? And that's really, being, developing, now patented, and bringing to market the world's first North American suite of, fire resistant, hurricane resistant, tornado resistant, lightweight cement materials based on magnesium, doing it in a very unique way. I always use the analogy for our company that we're really almost a startup pharmaceutical company. We've come up with a new drug to maybe fight diabetes. We've now tested it. We just got FDA approval, so that's a big thing for the construction industry or health. And now we have the partners, the Pfizers, the Novartises of the world coming to us to say, okay, how do we help you take it to the world? So that's the super exciting place we're at right now. But it's taken us years of that development path, right? You can think of a pharmaceutical company developing and trial and error and working on the formulas, but we really are a chemistry or material science company in construction, and unfortunately, the world needs us right now.
Very cool. Awesome. Scott, I could talk to you for hours, but I know you got other things to do. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge.
Hey, Tats, this has been great, and thanks for reaching out a little while ago with your team. I look forward to also just helping take your podcast to another level, using our reach, and because it's needed. It's really needed in the construction industry. So thank you.